name's Alex Rumsey, and I'm part of the UK sales team here at TDSI. What I wanted to do today was just give you a quick walkthrough of the GARDiS web embedded controller, show you the features and the functionality of it, and just go through a couple of common things that I found quite good and powerful to use and actually sell to customers. So what we'll do is we'll just quickly walk through some of these common features. So when we move over to GARDiS Master Controller, because I haven't automatically logged in, it's going to ask me to log back in again, and it's logged me in. So what we are doing today, we are connected on an IP address, as John has mentioned earlier. So we're connected on a 192 range, and we're connected to a G2 controller. So the G2 controller is a 2-reader controller, and clicking on operating mode with that G2 master controller, you can select whether it's 2 doors, reader egress, or you can have it set to 1 door, read in, read out on it. If you make any changes, the first thing to always note with the system is if you make any changes within the functionality of the web page, you must always click save. If you click save, it remembers what you've done. If you don't, everything you've done has just been wasted. There you can see it's updated and it's confirmed that those changes have been made. So I've said we've got a master controller here connected. We've also got some readers connected. It's a 2-reader controller, so we've got reader 1 and reader 2. So if we select reader 1 here, this today we've actually got a TDSI GARDiS reader connected to it. So what we can do here is we can change the name of that reader. We can make it something so it's meaningful for the site. So we can type reception, and that's become a reception reader and door. We can now select the reader type that we've got connected to it. So the reader type we can set here, and for a TDSI reader, we always select TDSI reader. As you can see in that list, there's lots of other different reader formats that the system already supports. And what we'll do is for reader 2, we'll go in and we'll show you a different example of a different type of reader connected to it. But I'll explain more of that in a second. So we select TDSI reader, and that's set within the system. And so that's set up for the correct property. So it's going to understand what the cards are going to be sent to it. We can collect door properties. This is where you can set some of the common features. It automatically defaults 5 seconds for a lock time. So on a valid access granted read, it will unlock and release that door for 5 seconds. What you then are able to do is you can save those changes. So if we click on save now, it confirms those changes. And if we click back over onto readers, we can see it's updated the reader name as reception. It's set to TDSI reader. Another nice feature that we've actually got within the software here is we can actually release the door from this part of the software. So we can click on release door, and I can hear and I can see next to me that that reader has gone green and the relay has clicked to release the door. So we can manually control that should you wish to. So moving along the upper part of the screen now, we've got something called schedules. So schedules within TDSI, you're able to set here and define a schedule. Now that schedule could be a schedule that you want a group of staff, a group of people to be allowed access through doors. So if we click on a schedule, we can first, similar to the reader, we can actually name it. So we can name it something like TDSI 24/7. So it means something like that. What you can then also do is you can define what you want to, how you want to actually see that information. So firstly, you can define it so it's every day, Monday through to Sunday, and then the public holiday option. You can also do Monday to Friday, so it's a bit easier to see. If you've got a lot of common information that you're replicating Monday to Friday, you can define it here as well, and you can define the time periods. Again, then you can set it Saturday and Sunday and public holidays. So if we confirm that and press save, that just applies those settings. The next option that we need to set is access groups. Okay, so access groups now is groups of permissions, what doors people are allowed to go through, what readers are people allowed to pass through. So you can see we've already created one. This is classed as TDSI staff. You could class one for visitors. You could have one class for managers. You could have one class for cleaners. Whatever you want to have them, you can create them, and then you can name them appropriately. It's very, very simple to use this. So within the permissions, you can select, and as we said earlier, we're connected onto a G2 controller. So we've got two doors that we're allowing access through, and we can see here reception, and we've got reader to door. Now with this, I've got a couple of options that I can set. I can set that so that their access is forbidden, so I'm not allowed to pass through that door. You can define it so that it's always permanent access, you're always allowed through it, or you can apply it to a schedule. So those schedules that we talked about where you can define the times that people are allowed into an area or a door within a site, you can define that being very specific with that. So for the purposes of today, we'll just set that for permanent access. We'll also set that for reader 2 as well, permanent access, because that's a feature that I'll show you in a second. So that's all defined for the properties and the permissions for TDSI staff. So if we click save, again, it saves what we've just changed on that setting. Moving along now, we've got the option for users. Users, if we click on users, you can see that we've got nobody sitting within the database of the system at the moment. And we've got a couple of options now here to actually help us put people into the system to make them valid and gain access. Firstly, we can import a list. Click it on this. It brings up an option, so you're able to import a database, an existing database from the site. Somebody might have a HR database, they might have some information already on an Excel sheet. Clicking on this, you can then import that information into the GARDiS software, into the web embedded software, so that information can be pre-populated, so you don't have to type all that information in as part of this process. Or you can create them one by one if you don't already have that information. So if we click on the create, it adds your information surname first. So I've already entered it into the system and it's remembered it. So Rumsey, Alex, and then the credential. Now on TDSI cards, on our cards, we've always got the card number printed on the front face. Also, we do a desktop enrollment reader. So if you haven't got that number on the front face, you can use a desktop enrollment reader connected on the USB. You can present that card to that reader and it will automatically populate that credential number for you. For the purposes of today, I'm just going to enter this number in now, 219275, and that's the ID for that card now. Okay, so if we click over to permissions, you can see that I can have my status is authorized. So you can automatically, sorry, not automatically, but you can select on the status option and you can set them from being authorized to not allowed. But again, today we'll just keep it on authorized. You can define a schedule that person is allowed into the building. And then another feature is you've got validity. So if you're producing these cards for future use, so you're getting ahead of some activity that you can do on a Friday and you want the cards to be working on Monday, you can click enable and then you can enter the start date and time that you want that card to start working. That's a very, very handy feature that's very, very quick and easy to navigate. And also you can set an end date. So if you've got a visitor or if you've got a contractor coming onto site, you can define how long that card will work for and when it will automatically stop working. So you don't have to worry about getting that card returned back to you. So again, we'll just keep it nice and simple. The card will automatically work. Now what we've got is access groups. We created an access group earlier on, and that was TDSI staff, and that's got those two readers already connected to it. So if we select on TDSI staff, I've then become part of that access group. If you've got a big system, if you've got multiple doors, and you want to have multiple access groups, you can define that, and you can have different members of staff belonging to different access groups, and they can be options within groups 2 and groups 3 that can also be added. Once I've done that, if I press save, that information has been updated, and that information has been saved within the system. And if I go over to the events option, if I present the card now onto the reader and press refresh, you can see Alex Rumsey with the card 219275 has just gone through the reception door at 10:30 today. That's a very, very quick and easy adding somebody to the system, creating a very simple access control system that's taken less than 8-9 minutes to actually talk people through it and know how to do it. The other type of system that people are potentially likely to encounter is sites that have already got readers installed on it. So you're doing a technology refresh on the site, so you're updating the controllers, but they still want to use their readers and cards. And that's an option that I've seen a lot of on projects nowadays. So if we go back to site configuration, we've got the reader 2 that we've got within our system. So this reader 2 has actually got a HID reader connected to it, and it's a HID reader that we've had in the office. We've got some cards. We didn't really know what the reader was formatted to. So what we've done here today, if we just name this now and just call this custom format. Again, you could call that reception, you could call that stores room, you could call that whatever is appropriate for that site. From the drop-down list now, you've got lots of options to be selecting, but as I said, we don't know what this Wiegand format is. So if we click on custom Wiegand, we do know what that card number is on this card. So if we look at the card now, on the actual bottom face of the card, it's got its card number already printed on it. So if I enter that into the software, so we've got the reader connected, we know what the card number is, 1715. So we've entered what that card number is into the software. If we click Start now, what we can now do is present that card to the reader. Now the reader then, with the controller, then works out that full data string of information that's been received, and it works out what that bit structure is for that site, and for that site on that card. It's worked it out here. It knows what it is, and it tells us that it's between 15 and 34. So we've got that information. We can click now Save. So that now is a custom format is saved into the controller. So it makes it very, very quick and easy to come onto an existing system where you don't necessarily know all the information about a card format or a reader format, and we can get it operational very, very quickly. So we've confirmed that setting. Now another nice feature that I like within the system is that if we go over to events again, back on the top bar of the software, if we present that same card to the reader and click refresh, we can see now that we've got an unknown credential. It's in the custom format. It's read that card number that I read out earlier, 631715, into the system. Now what we can do, you can see that it's highlighted. So if we click that highlighted part of it now, it automatically now jumps you straight over to the new enrollment part of the software. So we can set here, we'll create a fictitious name, Joe Blogs. We can then see that it's automatically pulled that card number into the part of the enrollment process. We can go over to permissions, and we can then quickly go to access group and create it as a TDSI staff again. If we click save, that saves that information back into the system. And if we go over to the events again, part of the screen, if we present that the card to the reader again, you can hear it beeping in the background. If we click refresh, you can see now Joe Blogs has been access granted through that access point. So that's a very, very quick and easy 2 scenarios of using the system of adding either TDSI cards and readers or third-party cards and readers. A couple of the other bits that I just want to mention as part of this today. Managers. So I'm logged in today as a manager. I'm an administrator of the system. That's one person. However, it's always recommended that you've got a couple of people that can administer a system. Very, very simple to add those. You click on the create, you enter the login details, you confirm the password, and then you're able to define the access rights, the parts of the system that you want them to be able to visit and access and set up. Obviously, again, once you've set that information up and you define those properties, click save, and that information will be stored within the system. If you want to delete that person, you've still got that full control of it. So you just log back in as yourself as the manager, select the person, and you can delete them as well. One of the other things to mention quickly, languages. We support multiple languages within the system, so you can just toggle the languages to whichever local language that you require within the system.